fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Oleksandr Usyk. Get this, according to Usyk's camp, the champ needs to recover from injuries and regain his strength after an intense run of fights. As his team rightfully put it, he's earned the right to choose his next step and take the time he needs. If Usyk doesn't proceed or opts out, Parker could be elevated to the WBO champion status. Meanwhile, the unbeaten rising star Moses Atoma, ranked #1 by the WBO, is watching closely and ready to take the next step. Oleksandr Usyk and his team have officially requested and received extra time before making his mandatory title defense against Joseph Parker as ordered by the WBO. Okay. And let me counterpunch. I have no problem with that if the WBO decides to strip him. Because there's not enough time how this was explained, okay? How it looks, he needs a time for his body to heal. So that's not really telling us that he was injured to a point where he needs surgery, therefore he needs recovery, therefore he needs that time off. There's nothing that warrants that at all. I don't see it. You've been fighting the guys that you've been fighting, and apparently you've had injuries. Well, obviously the injuries weren't as severe as taking time off for them to heal. Now that you decide to do that, I think that's kind of weird, because it's to me, it comes off as, hey, well, he's earned the right to do whatever he wants. That's basically the mindset that Canelo Alvarez has, and I think, I just think Canelo's more unapologetic based off the fact that he doesn't have any injuries. But to say he has injuries without saying what the injury is, for us to decide if it's worth taking that time off. We don't know how much time they're talking. We don't know if they're talking 3 months, 6 months, 5 months. We don't know. But we do know that the show must go on. See, becoming an undisputed champion, and you really want to do what Lennox Lewis has done, and everybody knows my problems or my issues with Lennox Lewis over the years. One thing you can't say about Lennox Lewis, he fought everybody ahead of him, in front of him. He didn't take a time off to say, hey, I'm injured, but I can't tell you what the injuries are. He never done that. And this is what we're seeing in Team Usyk. Now, I like Usyk as a champion, but that's the same reason I liked Anthony Joshua, because he was the guy that fought his mandatories. If you can't fight your mandatories based off something that you've already done, and you have an injury, people are going to demand what's going on with you. Is it a knee injury, shoulder injury, arm injury, fist injury, wrist injury? Different types of injury. What type of injury are we talking about? It seems like to me this is the just wear and tear. And wear and tear is not a really good enough reason for me to take time off. You know what I mean? Because we don't know what it is. And a lot of people I will get some pushback for this, but I don't give a shit, because if anything, you're going to fight Danny Dubois for a unification. You knew Danny Dubois had the IBF belt. You knew he was voluntarily fighting Joseph Parker. And then you said that Joseph Parker, we were afraid that Joseph Parker would beat Danny Dubois. If you can remember, Oleksandr Usyk said that out of his own mouth, like we thought a little bit that Danny Dubois was going to lose because we favored Joseph Parker to beat Danny Dubois. Now, after that, Daniel gets sick, pulls out of the fight, then he whoops his ass. So basically, you took an opportunity from Joseph Parker because you knew Danny Dubois or Team Dubois was going to go for the bait. And because you did that, and when you knocked him out, everybody glorified that like you're the best thing ever, but there's still other fights that you need to fight. And I'm not saying that he couldn't beat Joseph Parker. That's not the point. That was never the intention. The intention is do the right thing. Do what you took and who you took the belts from that would have done. That's the reason why you're in the same position that you're in, because the person that was the champion gave you the opportunity because he did his job. He fought the mandatories. So for the WBO doing that, well, okay, how long are they going to give him again? How much time will they give Oleksandr Usyk to sit around and, because we didn't hear anything specific. We just heard, well, he's fought 3 fighters with injuries, right? That's what we've heard. Let me say this right. Hold on a second. Let me say this right. Okay, here we go. Oleksandr Usyk and his team have officially requested, we got that part. And he says, the camp needs to recover from injuries and regain his strength after an intense run of fights. As his team rightfully put it, he's earned the right to choose his next step and take the time he needs. So you're asking WBO for an extension. That means he doesn't want to leave the belt, but he doesn't want to fight Joseph Parker now. He wants time to recover. Okay. And according to this, like I said, or like I thought, it was just pretty much wear and tear. Recover from injuries and regain his strength after an intense run of fights. So, and the thing is, basically, he's earned the right to do whatever he wants to do in the WBO. They're allowing him to do so. That's what I take from it. But I think I think you should take the Canelo route. Don't say you have injuries and you really don't have any. That's just wear and tear. Because if it was that severe, it would warrant a surgery or an operation that warranted time to get out of the ring. You know what I mean? So I don't think that this is the way that I would be satisfied with, because it just leaves another fighter out for the second time, okay? And the desire or the struggle to fight for the belt. First, the IBF was stripped from Joseph Parker. Now, they're giving him the runaround from the guy that actually stole the fight from him. And now he's telling them the team, Sergey Lapine, which is his manager now, after Krusik left, he's saying he can do whatever he wants and he deserves it. I'm like, okay, you've already beat Daniel Dubois, but you've never fought Joseph Parker. So I would have to disagree, because you don't know. We can only assume how a fight will go. And for everybody that's basing the destruction of Danny Dubois to the hands of Oleksandr Usyk going to be the same way to Joseph Parker, you're an absolute casual. That's what a casual does. They take and place Joseph Parker there where Danny Dubois was, and he should receive the same ass whooping because it was on that night. That's bullshit. Because those are 2 different fighters, and they will approach that fight 2 different ways. And, Daniel Dubois, for all we know, with the parties or gatherings or whatever you call it, he might have just been distracted out of this world, but he got his ass whooped by Oleksandr Usyk anyway. So what does that come down to? It comes down to favoritism. Okay? That means that Daniel Dubois was worth taking the risk versus Joseph Parker wasn't worth taking the risk. And I think that's totally unfair for that particular fighter. But of course, this is boxing, the sport that we love, that we hate so much. But you guys tell me what you think of Oleksandr Usyk asking and getting and granting time off instead of fighting Joseph Parker, leaving Joseph Parker to probably fight Moses Atoma, which is now higher on the ranks. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.